Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the New Year-hodge-podge show by me, Jenny. I'm just getting on to say hello and to maybe discuss a few things. That's why I called it hodgepodge, because it's probably a bunch of things that I felt like talking about. And it's interesting. We're about a week into the new year, and definitely the energy has shifted, in my opinion. But there is still some residual stuff, and I think it's as a result of, perhaps lessons learned or things like that. Anyway, it is really cold, by any standard, and I have my little long johns underneath my shirt, and it feels nice and cozy. I hope everybody is also very warm wherever they are, but of course not too warm if they're in a warm climate. I hope you're all very comfortable. Anyway, I think, I tend to do my own thing here on Intuit Talks. By the way, I'm the owner of Intuit Talks, and I don't generally say that, but, I think that I do my own thing because I don't want to just come on and talk every day just to hear myself talk or whatever. That's how I've always been, When I've done shows in the past on other platforms or whatever, it's always been very much impromptu, and it's always been a very personal thing for me. There have been many times that I've done shows where I do readings and I, show that side, but I don't think that's really for me what I'm about. I tend to just, observe things that I've seen over the course of the period where I haven't done a show, and then share that. Very often there's a theme, but it's not always about another person or, okay, for example, the last end of the year, the tail end of it, I'd say all the way from September, mid-September to, December, I have found myself in a series of misunderstandings, and it wasn't about Mercury retrograde. It wasn't remotely about any of that. I guess it was about me and others, and my experience of others and their experience of me. And I found that very often it almost seemed like the universe kind of conspired, for lack of a better term, not in a strange, weird way, but it kind of was working to create wedges between certain people that perhaps I wasn't even looking to separate from. It seemed that anything that I said, anything that I wrote, anything I said on my little impromptu shows here had been misconstrued so badly, and it's not to say that, oh, I'm a victim here or, whatever, but it was just something that was absolutely so, I remember going on a show with a friend, and they had brought up something, and I just sort of went, yeah, and agreed and said this, that, the other thing. And then later on, it turned out that, they were talking about someone else, and they were kind of pinpointing at that person. And honestly, the person listening felt that I was the one, hurting them. And I'm like, hey, this is interesting. That's one thing about me. If you're my friend, I'm quite loyal to you. And there'll be no one more fierce in defending someone I call friend or someone I used to call friend. However, I think that that comes with a price that I don't necessarily mean to put on someone, but I find that because I'm so loyal in that regard, that if I feel that person isn't being loyal, then I have an issue with them. The good news is when I go ahead and have a feeling about something, even if I'm wrong, I will say, hey, this is how I feel. Like I feel that you did this or whatever. And whether they laugh in my face or whatever is, irrelevant. What the point is to always say what's on your mind at that moment. I find that when you have, be it a friendship or a relationship, when you hold these little things in, these little thoughts or emotions or maybes, that it just snowballs. And then all of a sudden, bam, something has to give, and it certainly does. So that was part of my experience to see that, maybe that even though it wasn't what I wanted, maybe it was for the best. And I feel like now I need to preface, I'm not on here ever to say something negative or to call out any people. I find that that's a huge misuse of media. I'm a big believer in completing, right? Not competing and putting each other, like that's an old saying I heard when I was doing my Reiki classes, that people should be completing one another. Anyway, I just feel like I do need to preface that. I think that oftentimes I do come out with how I feel about things and what I've experienced for the month or whatever, and it's generally about outside things. If it's about someone that's, perhaps in the spiritual industry, you wouldn't find me going on here on intuitalks.com and going, oh, guess what? This rat did this or that. I mean, that is just absurd. But, these things happen, and that's okay. But they do happen, and it's taught me, what? I have to be very responsible for the things I say in public, but also, anywhere. I don't know if I really have any true words of wisdom to share except to say that, follow your emotions and let them out. So often. That's like my big thing that I sort of tell everybody, you want to go ahead and tell people how you're feeling. You see it a lot where it says, tell someone you love them. You never know when they'll be gone or whatever. But what you don't see as much is tell someone when you're angry at them. Because if you don't, number one, you're kind of absorbing that into your body, and that's not good. All these emotions, I always say they have to go somewhere. Let them out. If you can't at that time say something, channel it through something else, art, writing, speaking. But be careful of what you say, because these things can be construed in such a way that will do more harm than good. I think for the most part we all try to do the right things, but like me personally, I think that I'm the poster child for trying to do the right thing and somehow going, insert foot in mouth. I guess I do that quite often. And then the thing is, once someone is convinced, they've turned a corner, in their assumption or their feeling or whatever valid emotion they have, because all emotions are valid, you know what, there's really no going back from that. And you can't, you can kind of go, I didn't, and it will be what it's supposed to be. And that's my motto, my mantra for this new year. I'm not really big on New Year's resolutions and, things like that. I think that I'm afraid I'm going to offend again, but it has nothing to do with a particular people or anything. But how many times do you see this throughout the years of your life? Oh, my New Year's resolution is this, and then by March they're kind of bummed out because that didn't happen yet, and then so I had posted on Facebook, why not just be instead of putting unnecessary pressures on you. It's one thing to set goals, but to once again there's that word assume that just because there's a calendar change, boop, that something is going to change. It doesn't work that way. It's when we actually make an action in the physical and match that in the ether energetically, do we really have something that comes together? That's my opinion, right? And so, my mantra this year is to just allow the flow, right? And freedom of that flow. You can fight what's supposed to be, but all you're doing is just sort of getting water worn or something when you fight. That's like that old saying, when you're swimming in the river and you swim against the current, you're doing a whole lot of effort, a whole lot of work, and you get nowhere, right? So, with that being said, I don't know. It's just been very, very interesting, and I thank the universe for the experiences that I have, and continue to have. I love the fact that I get to feel everything and experience everything, and I'm a big believer in that idea. I don't believe that we're here for a purpose. I think that, let me rephrase that. I don't think that in order to have a meaningful life, we have to have a job set for each of us. Like you're here to, make people smile, and I'm here to make people love, or I'm here to make people angry, or, I don't think it's like, dopey, sneezy, and doc. I just think that it's more simple, but yet deep. Like there's a big contrast there, a paradox, if you will, that it's deep but very simple, and that is to feel what we can't feel had we been just energy, which is in essence what we are. In an energetic form, you can't hear with human ears. You can't contemplate with the human mind. You can't feel the wind against you in an energetic body the same as you could a flesh and bone body. And that's why we're here. We're not here to, all my opinion, guys, but we're not here to be this or that. We're not here to be perfect. Oh my God. Then you know what? We'd all fail, by the way. Not just me. We would so all fail that. And there's so many of us trying to strive to be perfect. Oh, we mustn't feel this way. Oh, we mustn't, get angry or get frustrated. For instance, I have a very bad temper. It takes a lot for me to get angry, but when I do, I let people know, and I verbalize it in a very obvious way, and I'll throw F-bombs and I'll tell you what I think, and I don't necessarily love that side of me, but it exists. And I embrace it in the sense that sometimes that angry part that we all have helps me. It's like a catalyst to change, right? So what if I wasn't strong enough to say to a friend who had been using me over and over again, and by the way, once again, I'm not trying to make anybody assume it's about them, or I'm trying to be very careful about that. But, for instance, we all had people that way, in that regard, who you feel like they only contact you for something, like they want something or whatever. How many times do you let that slide? And then finally, like I said earlier, finally it just kind of blows up and you wind up saying things you don't want to say, or just, presenting that angry side. I suppose because of the fact that most people, including myself, like I so don't want to hurt people. And so I rather just close my eyes and say nothing than be mean or be somebody who just wants to hurt somebody, because once you tell someone, let's say even if you're not being angry, and you say, hey, this is how I feel. I feel that you're coming by my house only when you need something. First thing that's going to happen is that person is going to get defensive, And you know that when you confront someone, that response is going to be there. There's very few people that go, oh, is that so? I'm sorry. Very few. Very few. And so you have to be willing to pick that hill to die on, like we've talked about in the past. You have to be willing to say, I know that it's going to be this way today, right? I know that it's going to be uncomfortable, but for my own peace of mind, I need to say this to this person. And also, maybe this person doesn't even realize that they're doing it. And that's another thing, to bring awareness. So what happens is, if you don't do that, because it is a very awkward thing to have to deal with, if you don't do that, your anger will eventually do it for you, right? And maybe there's people out there going, well, I don't get angry. Good. But I don't believe you. Just saying. In my opinion, I think we all have the basic food groups of emotions, right? I think we all have sadness. We all have love. We all have fear. We all have anger. I think that they're very highly related, but I think that they're all alive and well in us, and that there's light and dark, so to speak, within each of us. And I think that the best thing to do is to give that light to others instead of casting shadow on them. And it's very trite. You hear it a lot, but it's beautiful, It's just that the other stuff get in the way. The resentment, the built up things, you did this, you did that. Oh, it's piling up and up and up. All this stuff, this human stuff that we do have to put up with, it's in the way of the real stuff. It's almost like a donut. Oh, never mind. Because then things pop out of my head and whatever, it might be taken wrong. But, it's just like any good food with something good in the middle, You want to get to the good stuff, yeah? But you can't, because first you have to get around that other stuff. That's where the beauty is. And I believe that other stuff, the center, is the heart. And as hard as it is sometimes when it comes to conflict of oneself and conflict between yourself and another, trying to get to that good stuff is not always as easy as we all want to portray as spiritual beings, right? But I'm always a big believer in being truthful about who I am, and I think that people should be truthful about themselves too. Truth is a teacher. It might not always be a nice teacher, but it's there, you know. Anyway, these are my little hodgepodge moments, I don't even know if you can call what I do here on my show a show or a teaching or anything except for a talk session, which is all I really like to do. I like to share with people what I know. I don't necessarily like to read a book and go, yeah, this, that. But that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. It just means that that's something I don't vibe with, I feel like experience is the best teacher. And when I experience things, I like to share them. I like to tell you what I maybe have done wrong or how I handled it and how it's okay, Like, look at me, the idiot here, on the camera. No makeup, just kind of fumbling around. I'm doing it because I enjoy that. And I'm to that point where I don't mind what you think of me. And that's a beautiful thing. That's the good stuff right there too, to get to that place as well. Gosh, I don't know. I just think that it's true as you get older, you kind of get over stuff, but I think it's more, let me tell you, I have met 70-year-old people, no offense to them, but I've met 70-year-olds who are not evolved, not even in the least. And they're just as insecure as they were when they were 20 years old. I don't think it's just age. I think it's a collection of experiences that leads you to conclusions and lessons and experience. It's the universe that points you in all these directions only to find your destination is that center, the good stuff, the heart. That's really all I can say, guys. That's my truth. All of it. The frustration, the disappointment, and I'm talking about earlier, about whatever, the idea that some things just are, and some things are just meant to end. And as much as you want to fight with that and say, no, that's not it, and that's whatever, it happens, and you have to just learn to go with the flow. And you need to learn to say, it's not up to me what people think. And that's not to excuse yourself from responsibility. Because, like, for me, I'm not perfect, and I do things that are probably not great, but I've never intended. But you know what I mean? Everybody's not perfect. But I do know how to apologize. I do know how to say, hey, I'm sorry. And that doesn't always get you anything. Or, and maybe you shouldn't apologize to get anything anyway. I don't. I do it because I'm aware of myself and I take responsibility for my own actions. The problem is not everybody does, but that isn't your problem, right? That's the thing that I have to learn and had to learn. I kind of, okay, everybody has their own code, right, of conduct or ethics or whatever. And I have a certain one. Okay, I'm not saying that I'm perfect in every way and I never do this and I never do that, but I damn well try. Okay? And so what happens is when you have your own code, which we all do, you expect everybody else to have that code too. Thing is, not everybody does. And it doesn't make them worse or better or whatever, but this is another lesson, just because you are willing to put egg on your face and go, hey, sorry, man, or whatever, doesn't mean the other person will. And you should be okay with that, And then if you do everything you can, you're the nicest person, you've done nothing but good stuff, but then you suddenly find yourself on this weird end of mistruths and gossip or whatever. And again, let me preface, I'm not saying that that's somebody out there in the spiritual world that I know or I'm just saying in general, if you find yourself in that position, you might question, well, why the heck was I nice? Please don't go there, guys. Just be nice because that was the right thing to do, right? Easier said than done? No, it isn't. Just don't even think about it. Just do. And you'll still, no matter what, even if your heart gets hurt or whatever, continue to do the heart work. The work that makes you feel good, makes life worth living for a lot of people, not everyone. But that's the center, that's the beauty, that's the heart, all this stuff, continue to spread you, whatever you are, because you, be it the love person or be it the, kind of kooky, unique person, whatever you are, spread it and spread it truthfully, and you will never, ever, ever go wrong. All right. I really appreciate anyone who does come and listen in the archives. What I do is kind of a bonehead thing. I never post any shows until I'm done. I do these shows privately, and then I post them after I'm done. And it's because I like to just get on with it, say what I have to say, and get off. Maybe I'm a little bit of a diva, or maybe I'm a big old bonehead. Anyway, I hope you have a perfect rest of the first month of the year. I hope that, even if it's one little piece that I say, I hope it helps. If not, that's okay too. Totally cool. Peace out. Thanks for listening. Bye.